right, so I'm Jason Yarusi of Yarusi Holdings. Welcome to this week's webinar. Excited to dive in with you today to talk about stress testing your underwriting for multifamily apartment communities. Again, would you like me here, make sure you go down there and hit that follow button. Each and every week, we have a new webinar coming out talking about multifamily and investing in the multifamily space. Again, I'm Jason Yarusi of Yarusi Holdings, a multifamily investment firm here in Tennessee. We look for buying underperforming properties in and around Tennessee markets here and look forward to diving in, talking about multifamily investing today with you. If you'd like me to hear, make sure you check us out at yarusiholdings.com. You can also find more about our podcast to hear more about everything you want to know about multifamily investing at Multifamily Live Podcast. So today we're talking about stress testing your multifamily underwriting. Notably, there's a number of different aspects that you can stress test here. Typically, you look at it as your base case, your best case, and your worst case. This can serve to be a number of things. When you look at preparing your underwriting, you want to make sure you're setting yourself with a base case, a reasonable expectation about what you can expect to perform at for this property. Now, this is both on the income and the expense level. When we look at the property itself, you will now look to improve the operations. And with that improvement in operations should have an improvement in your income and will have an effect on your expenses. Typically from that part, the property or the current property, the expenses may be running wild. They may have not a very good operational plan. And from that fact, the expenses may be well out of whack, where you'll be able to come in there and put together a very fine-tuned product to start to bring the expenses in line. On the other side of it, the expenses may not be tracked well and they may be very light on expenses. So when you come in there to run your property, your expenses may actually increase to match the needs for the property. So ultimately for this, we look at our base case to look at our expectations for our underwriting. From there, we will look to see if now things can happen that may affect our overall product. It could be that our rent premiums, we do not hit our rent growth expectations. So we will look to reduce our rent growth expectations. We will also look to increase our expenses to see the effect on increased expenses. That will also include now testing out, if we're in certain states, changes in our taxes here. So upgraded changes in our taxes. What happens with effect to our insurance? Notably too, how does a big delta or change in our vacancy affect the property? At what point does a increase in our vacancy rate come to a point that our break-even occupancy is affected here, where we are now in the red and not covering our debt service? So looking at these items here are very important, so you can get a read on the health of the property. How far do you have to go before this property becomes one that can be a very big issue for you and your investors that you will not be able to sustain because of certain outlying factors? It could be everything from very high expenses. It could be unexpected increases in the insurance market. It can be other conditional items that can start to burn through your income that you are now producing. Also, if you look forward here, if you had zero income growth in the next 1 to 2 years for other things that could come up, how would that affect your property? So looking at stress testing your underwriting, understanding what could be the effects if you are looking at a refinance on a property. How now into the future will a certain refinance look if it's at a certain interest rate? We've seen such a drive today. So if you are in an interest rate environment that's about a 6.5% today, what if you had to refinance in 2 years and you're at an 8% or you're at a 7.5%? What if the cap rates adjust here? How sensitive to you are you at the cap rate for a sale if you look to sell in year 4, year 5, and year 6? We see cap rates move 50 basis points up or down. How does that affect your investment? And how much of your investment is typically reliant on the sale because it does not have in-place cash flow throughout? Looking at these metrics can be very important for you to understand how sensitive your property is to the moving market dynamics that may be in your control and may not be in your control. So again, stress testing your underwriting, understanding that you do have a base case and we have the worst case and the best case. We hope for the best case. We really are confident in the base case, but we do want to know where the worst case leads us. And if you can do this, you can confidently talk to your investors to say that I'm very solid in our business plan. We do understand the risk associated with it, and we do understand that the risk associated with us still gives us a product that we can stand behind to get and preserve capital for our investors. Again, I am Jason Yarusi of Yarusi Holdings, excited to dive in and talk to you today. Reach out to us. Let us know more topics you want to hear. Each and every week we come to you talking about a topic here in multifamily investing. Look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks so much.